Hello and welcome back everybody to another episode of Funcraft. This is episode 6 and today we've got kind of something interesting planned. It's going to be a totally different pace of episode, so I think it'll be a little more relaxed, a little more laid back. We're going to be doing something we haven't really done before, which is not focusing on a farm. All of the previous episodes have been automation and farm based, which is a heck of a lot of fun, don't get me wrong, but I'm excited at changing things up a little bit. So we really have two things that I want to get done in this episode, and they're a little bit open-ended, but the first has to do with this thing that's in my hand here, and that is the meteorite compass, and I'll talk about that in a second. And the other has to do with really everything that's around us right now. I think I mentioned at some point, it might have been like the second or third episode, overall, the Biomes O Plenty mod, which is part of this mod pack, I love it. I love all the different blocks it adds. I love all the different biomes it adds. Just the idea that it's kind of trying to increase the diversity of the Minecraft environment. However, I hate the bio mod, or biome, excuse me, which is that one right over there. It's just I'm not feeling it. Even then, this grassland, which I mean this is vanilla. I'm not feeling the hills and kind of all the little lakes and inlets here. It's just not really where I see my final base being. And I think I mentioned that I wasn't ever going to focus on cosmetic or aesthetics for this space, and believe me, I have not done that. So what I want to do for part of the episode is just kind of head off into the distance, just pick a direction, start flying. I've got my food, I've got my rockets, and we're just going to see what we can find. If we find a cool biome or find a cool area that we like, then I'll earmark that for a potential base, and if we don't, then that's okay. We'll pick this up in another episode, and just keep doing that until we're happy with it. The other thing that I want to do is a little more concrete, is we need to find a skystone meteorite. And the reason we need that is a lot of the items in the Applied Energistics mod, the main one I'm after right now is called the ME controller and the Futura block, but they require this engineering processor. And if you go through the crafting recipe, that requires something called the Inscriber Engineering Press. And there's basically 4 of these presses. There's, I forget what all the different types are, but basically this is one of 4, and they can only be found naturally generated in the world. There's no way to craft them without having one. So you can see that you can combine one with an iron block to make a second one, and that's great, but you have to have this first one. So you have to find that in the world, and it comes from these, I guess you could call them structures that generate, called the skystone meteorites, and fortunately this compass will lead us to it. And basically the way this compass works is you can see it's kind of just rotating lazily, and what that means is that we're nowhere near any skystone at all of any sort. Once we get closer, it will start pointing towards the chunk that the skystone is in, and once we're in that chunk, it'll start spinning like this, but super fast. So basically, we're just going to, again, fly off on a direction, see what we can see what we can find, but I'm going to be keeping an eye out on this compass to see if there's not any skystone in the area, and hopefully even pick up 1 or 2 of these presses. So I'm going to just kind of head off, really. I don't really think there's much more of an intro that we need. And I think the style I'm going to take on this is just kind of give you guys little progress updates, little flyovers if I find something that's cooler, that's interesting, or a potential spot for a base. And I will see you guys when I've found something interesting. So without further ado, we are off. If I can fly. We're off. There we go. Alright guys, I've done a little bit of flying and I'm finding this place, and this is not bad. This is kind of what I might be looking for. So this is the Redwood Forest. This is from the Biomes O Plenty mod. And I am playing on a large biomes, I guess world type, so this biome is going to be decently large. And kind of the reason that I like it is one of the kind of themes that I've been at least messing around with in my head for my base is something like kind of a mage's tower, like an enchanted forest type of vibe. And I feel like this could be a very good place to do that. We might do some custom trees. We'll definitely increase the thickness of the trees, or I guess how tightly they're packed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write down the coordinates of this because I definitely think we can shortlist it. And I'm going to keep going, but I just kind of wanted to touch base and show you guys kind of what I found thus far and where things might be going. And where things are going are back home. So I have returned home, and that's for a couple reasons. The first of which is my elytra broke. That was a mistake on my part. I had forgotten to put mending on it before I took off. Didn't notice until it was over halfway broken, so I wasn't able to make it home with the durability I had, so I had to walk it in for a little bit there, which was kind of frustrating. But we've got mending on there now, so that's not a problem. I was running low on food, which you have to, gotta have your food. And the other thing is, if you guys recall, one of the goals that we've got is we're looking for a skystone meteorite, and we've got this meteorite compass that will point us directly to one. It'll point to the nearest skystone in the world within, it's like a 2,000 or 3,000 block radius. So we should be good there. The thing is, it isn't working, and I can't figure it out. And I was doing all this Google searching. I'm like, why isn't this working? And I found all these things saying it wasn't working, but then it had been patched, so I couldn't figure out what was going on. It turns out the like meteorite structure, I guess, that's supposed to spawn with all these skystone blocks in it that this guy is going to detect wasn't turned on. So I went into the config files and I was able to turn that flag back on. So what we'll have to do is basically not go anywhere within these chunks anywhere where we've gone before. So I'm thinking of maybe heading kind of northeast here. We'll see, but I haven't really done any exploring out here. So that should generate some new terrain, and hopefully this guy will pick up on some meteorites so we can get these inscriber presses. So that was sort of the second reason. And then the third reason was I liked some of the ideas, some of the things that I was kind of bouncing around in my head. But I think I have decided on my way back, believe me, I had plenty of time to think. I have decided that I want to do kind of like an enchanted mage's tower. I think that would be really cool. I think that could be an interesting build. It would definitely push me in the building aspect, which is not something I really excel at, and I think that would be a fun thing to practice. So in the name of that, I would like to find some biome that we could get sort of an enchanted feel to. I want a lot of trees. I want a lot of different types of trees. I'm going to definitely be doing some custom trees. And so there's a couple different biomes. I wanted to take some time and research the Biomes O Plenty mod to see what biomes are available. And I've got a couple ideas on some biomes that might be suitable for this. I'm going to do some more exploring, see what I find, but towards the end of the episode, I might kind of bust out some of those web pages and walk through with you guys what I found. And hopefully we can get a plan and maybe even find one by the end of the episode. So I'm just stocking up a little bit more on food. I've got some rockets, and then we'll be out and away again. But I just wanted to give you guys a quick progress update on where we are so far. Well, I am happy to report that we have actually found the location, the final location of our next base. I did not think we were going to find it so quickly, but you can see it coming into view. This is the Mystic Grove biome, and this is what I was after. This is what I was looking for. I had done all kinds of research on the Biomes O Plenty mod wiki to see what type of biome I might like, and this is going to be the perfect backdrop for our sort of wizard's mage tower. Let me hop up on this tree and we can kind of talk through some of the ideas that I was having. Probably actually not too, well, if I don't get stuck in it. Geez, there we go. So I was thinking that maybe even somewhere around where this tree is, somewhere in the middle of the biome, because it does go out quite a bit in each direction, I would have a sort of tower maybe that's integrated with like a tree, so it kind of looks like it was built into a tree or grown out of a tree or something like that. That could be really cool. I'll probably actually ditch the mushrooms, not a huge fan of those, but I love these blue and purple magic trees. I'll definitely be planting a lot more of those. That is like the natural watercolor, which I love. You can kind of see that blue pool over there. That's like a magic pool. If you stand in it, it gives you regeneration. So I think that we could definitely riff on some of the natural environment here and then build up the forest around us, which would be awesome. You can see we've got kind of these like abandoned magic temple things. I think that's from the Astral Sorcery mod. So there's definitely a lot of potential for this. A couple features that I like about this is I love the watercolor. I love the grass color. There are a few mobs that spawn exclusively in this biome. I think it's like a fairy sprite or something like that. You get witch spawns at night. And then the other thing that I really like is the pink sky. And then to top it all off, if we go over here, and this isn't a factor, we just got lucky with this, it's not part of the mod, is look at this cliff that we're right next to. This is the crag biome. And look at this, we're at 180. Yeah, okay, so we are almost at build height here. If I can land, I think we're at like 240 something. Yeah, we're at 248. So we're 6 blocks below build height, and this was all naturally generated. And so I was thinking we could build something into this cliff face. We'd have a massive tower coming down. I mean, who knows what we can do. I think either way, it's going to look absolutely epic. I'm super excited to get building. I think what things are going to look like over the next couple of episodes is I'm going to take the time to kind of build up like a micro base here, just stock it up with some foods, probably put a few ender chests. And then we're going to we're going to figure out where in this biome I'm going to actually be living, where the bases will be going. And we'll start building from there. We're just going to build like a little hut while I kind of concept out what I want the final build to look like. And from there, we'll actually begin collecting resources and building. I'll shift over all the farms and whatnot kind of as we have room. This is going to be a purely cosmetic build, and I'm absolutely psyched to get started. So I'm actually going to do a little more exploring. I've marked down where this biome is. I'm going to do a little more exploring with this meteorite compass. I'm going to keep looking for that skystone. Haven't found any yet. But the next time I see you guys, I think we will be beginning to kind of prepare up some storage areas for all of our stuff so we can begin the move. So I just wanted to give you guys a quick update on this. I've done a little more flying around the area, kind of looking for some skystone. And I did find, first off, okay, I love that. I love that transition. That's really cool. But side note, so what I'm finding is we're actually extremely lucky with where this is placed. I absolutely love the crag. I think that's over in that direction, that massive cliff. But I'm finding that we're getting these kind of really extreme environment differences on the edge. And I kind of like that because I'm taking some inspiration from like kind of a Lord of the Rings type of vibe, like insert your standard fantasy thing. So I'm imagining you're in this roofed forest. We'll thicken all of the trees up a bit. So I imagine you're kind of wandering through all of these trees. You know, it's just a standard forest, and then you kind of happen upon this magical enchanted forest. And then the other kind of thought that I have is, I believe over, no, wrong direction. Over in this direction, we've got a bayou. And as you guys know, I said that I hate the bayou, and I do. However, I did think that maybe we could use that, because what we get is we kind of get this transition between the Mystic Grove and the bayou. So I was thinking it could be like, there's this kind of abandoned swamp full of monsters type of thing. You know, you're wandering through, and then all of a sudden you happen upon this Mystic Grove where things have kind of been purified or enchanted by the magic in the area. So we have the pure daisies from the Botania mod. So I was thinking we could kind of go crazy like that. We could make like a border wall of it's called living stone and living wood and stuff like that. So it could look like we're kind of holding off the infection, and then we could ruin this area. So we kind of lean into the fact that the bayou looks kind of gross with the color of swamp water and all that. So it's just an idea that I thought that I had, but I thought it could look really cool. This guy's blowing up my house. That's not cool. But yeah, I thought that could be a really cool idea, and I just kind of want to share what my thoughts were thus far. Well, that's just a smidge awkward. We so I was setting up the next stage, or the next clip for the recording, and my game froze, but I guess it was still technically running, so there was a zombie right in front of me, and he went ahead and killed me. So we need to get all the way over there, which is 5 kilometers away, and unfortunately, the only set of elytra is over there. So I'm going to grab some food, and I'm going to grab a boat, and I will meet you guys back once I have all my stuff back. And we're back. That took much longer than I would have hoped. Let's get rid of some of this junk, and then finally we can get back to what we were originally here for, which was of course, the meteorite. So it claims that it's near here. I did manage to fix up the config files. There ended up being one more flag in there that I hadn't set correctly, which that was why I was having problems the last time I did a clip here. So it looks like it's just a little bit ahead of me. Okay, so that spinning should mean that it's somewhere in this chunk. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to clear out some of these trees real quick. Just get them, clear out a little bit of space, and then we should be able to start digging down, and hopefully we'll see it. And once, I think what I'm going to do is once I've kind of revealed it and started to dig it out, I will come back to you guys and I will show you what you're going to see in one of these meteorites. So this is one of the Applied Energistics Skystone meteorites. It's fairly large. I'd say maybe about 15 blocks each way. But not too bad. It took a little bit of time to clear this out. Obviously, we're not going to do that every single time. It's just I kind of wanted to get an idea for the size of this, wanted to be able to show you what one of them looks like. But the real meat of this is, and the real thing that we're here for, are these presses, these inscriber presses. So there's, I believe, 5 different types the name silicon, logic, engineering, and calculation. And those are used in a variety of Applied Energistics machines and various components that are needed for the machines and all that. And in the very center of this thing, there's a chance of there being a Skystone chest. And within that chest, there's a chance of being one of these 5 presses. I'm not sure if it's a guaranteed chance of one of the 5 or how exactly the numbers work out. But we've got a pretty good chance. I may end up breaking up all of this and harvesting the Skystone because I kind of like the blues and greens that are in there. Could be a neat accent block. But for now, I'm just going to go ahead and dig down to the center, or roughly the center, and we will look for this Skystone chest. It's kind of tricky because it has an almost identical texture to the blocks, but that is the Skystone chest, and we got it. Yes, we got the inscriber logic press. So that's one of the 5 that we need. We can just throw that guy in there. One thing that's kind of interesting, I didn't actually know, is this has 4x3, so this is a little bit larger than a typical chest, which is kind of neat. And I do think I'd like to take this chest with me if they can be mined. I don't actually know if they can. So, well, it doesn't seem to be breaking. Oh, yeah, there we go. Skystone chest. There we go. Sweet. Well, then that's well, great. that's really all we were here for. I may come back and I may demolish this, although I am going to go around and find the other 4 types of presses. So we're not exactly in a huge rush to get the Skystone. It's a pretty common spawn because, I mean, this whole thing is made out of solid Skystone, so we can get quite a bit. But anyway, I wanted to show you guys what this looks like, what one of the meteorites is, what it does, what it's for. We'll get into using these presses in a couple episodes down the road. I've got some things planned that use a lot of the Applied Energistics machines heavily. So for now, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go around, find the other 4, and then I think at that point I'm going to regroup at the base. So I will see you back there. And we are back after a successful meteorite hunting session. I went and found, I think it was actually only 1 other meteor, and we ended up getting lucky and getting the rest of the presses that we needed. But yeah, so that was a successful endeavor. And I've got a extremely crude setup over here. Generally, what you're going to be using these presses with is this inscriber. I mentioned you can get copies of these guys, so I've done that a little bit. And generally what you do is you take one of these presses, you plop it in the top section, and then you're going to put some material in here, and then that's going to give you the output. And the material you put in here depends on what you want. Sometimes if you want a copy of the press, it's an iron block. A lot of times you're going to be doing gold blocks, and even in some cases some diamond blocks. So it can get kind of expensive, but fortunately at this point we're actually kind of set for diamonds and gold and iron. So with that, I think a good way to kind of show you guys what's possible with this mod and also round off this episode is start working with this. So I think I mentioned that I want this to be my sort of larger storage system, at least for the time being. And there is a way that you can interface these storage drawers with what they call the ME system, which is basically Applied Energistics way of handling items. And we need a couple different items to do that. It's not actually that expensive, so I'd like to craft that and then show you guys how it works. But generally speaking, what it'll be is every item that's in this sort of chunk of storage drawers will be accessible from a single block. We can pull them out, we can put them in, and it'll be a pretty useful expansion to this. So if we go over to this crate, I've got everything laid out. So these are the 4 presses that we've got, all these different things here. And real quick, let me just put a quick buffer chest because I've got lots of junk in my inventory that we don't really need to have on us at the moment. But yeah, so I wanted to show you kind of how you're going to use things in this mod, and then we'll actually craft some things up. So the first thing that we're going to need is something called the ME controller, which is this guy right here. So I've got the recipe laid out, and what we need to do is we need to convert this block of diamond into an engineering processor. So for that, we're going to grab the inscriber engineering press. We're going to go over here, plop that in, put that there. That should start ticking up. And then whenever you're making these processors, you're also going to need redstone and this printed silicon, which is pretty easy to make. You're then going to take that, you're going to put this back in the inscriber in this configuration here, and that will go ahead and give us the engineering processor that we actually need. Maybe, there we go. All right, so there's our engineering processor. So we've got that guy. Then we're going to need something called an ME storage bus, and this is going to be the thing that actually attaches to the that attaches to the drawer controller and gives us access. So we're going to need 2 pistons, but those are easy enough to get. You guys know how to craft those. So we're going to need this ME interface, and that is made with this recipe. So in this case, we're going to need this formation core and annihilation core. I did already make some just because I had some actually in a chest already. But the recipes for those are up here. This is going to be the formation core. This is the annihilation core. And then this block of gold is representing a logic processor that you make with a gold block. So you can look that up in this recipe block if you need, but we'll go ahead and make this guy up. So we will just do, where'd it go? Here we go. So here's our storage bus. Okay, that's good. And while I'm at it, we might as well grab this. And I will point out that I think I mentioned you don't really need to mine out those meteorites. That's kind of not true. You don't need a lot, but you do need some of this skystone, which you just get by, or the skystone blocks, which you get by smelting the regular skystone. So I need the controller. Here we go. Oh yeah, and then I did forget, you need to put these Fluix crystals into the enrichment chamber to get the pure Fluix crystals. So while that's cranking away, the last thing we're going to need is the ME terminal, and that's going to be the block that we actually interface with. So you're going to need a couple things for that. You're going to need a logic processor, which is we're placeholding with this block of gold. I'll show you how to make that in a second. 2 more of these cores, and then something called an illuminated panel, which is this recipe right here. And this is not regular glass, this is actually fused quartz. So if we take these guys here, and we will actually be needing the, let's see here. Where's my logic press? Oh, I think I stuck it in the chest here. Whoops. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so if we take this logic press, we plop it in there, do a block of gold, that will get us the base processor, and then we're also going to need another printed silicon. You do end up using a lot of this printed silicon. You make it from sand, so it's super cheap to get. Yep, so we've got the printed logic circuit. Go get that out, do that, and one of those. And that should get us the thing that we need for the interface. And let's see here. So, if we do, oops. It's actually the terminal, excuse me. Jeez, I cannot spell today. And we're not after the crafting terminal. That can be useful, but we want just the regular old ME terminal for the time being. So ME terminal, there's that. And I think we're just waiting on this Fluix crystal, which is now done. So that's good. We can do the controller. So there's that guy. And then the last thing that we will need are some cables, but those are quite easy to make. And I have some sitting around somewhere. Yeah, here we go. So these ME glass cables, those are really straightforward to make. You just need a little bit of Fluix crystal and I believe some nether quartz. So they're pretty cheap to make there. So if we take all these things and then real quick, let me grab, I will need that piston and sticky piston just to round off the, where'd it go? Oh, where did it go? Here we go. To round off this item here, the ME storage bus. Okay, so I'm going to show you how this works, and what we do is I'm trying to think of a place that it makes sense. I think we'll just kind of awkwardly come under here. So this controller can go wherever because we're going to connect it up with these cables. So what we need to do is wherever your essentially inventory that you're looking into is, you're going to plop down the storage bus because the storage bus is able to look at a variety of inventories. In this case, it's looking at this block, and even though that doesn't have a GUI, it sees this all as part of the same inventory. So that's kind of how that's working. And then you're going to connect that up with these glass cables. That'll connect in. This guy does need power, so we can just grab a in one of these chests here. I should have some power relays. Yep, there we go. So drop that guy into there, and in a second you'll see this kind of starts lighting up, and that, yep, that means it's got power. And then you don't actually need another cable here, but I like it just because it makes it a little cleaner. Kind of bring that up, then drop the ME terminal on there. And when we right click on this, you'll see that we have access to all of the items in there, which is pretty cool. So for an example, let's say I want this Tiberium crystal. So that is in that drawer right there, but if I grab all of this, you'll see that it didn't disappear, or it did disappear. The reason that didn't go away is I've got this chest locked, so that can only accept tribarium ore, but that's just a preference thing. But that is actually gone. I can plop that back in. A better example to kind of show you this is if I have this quantify key, we can actually see the amount in there. So we've got 46 in there. Go over here, grab this out, that'll have dropped to 0. So this is a really powerful expansion, and I think in a previous episode I mentioned that we were going to be making basically a massive block of storage drawers because they can hold so much of one item. And we are, and then we'll be hooking it up with this so we don't actually have to get to any in the center. We can just grab everything here. So yeah, that's just a taste of what's possible with the Applied Energistics mod and with all of these inscriber presses. But I wanted to show you guys kind of what, sort of where things were going with that. But that's actually all the time I've got for this episode. So I appreciate you guys for watching. Please leave a like, leave a subscribe if you want to see more of my videos. And feel free to drop a comment on things you'd like to see in the future or how I can improve or anything like that. But again, thanks for watching, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your day.